So this is the pastor's report for June 6, 2020. Again, this is just a more personal way for me to let you know about some of the things that are going on. Make sure you subscribe to our parish's YouTube channel to stay up to date. First off, I want to let you know about some events that have led to some schedule changes for the week ahead. On Wednesday, there will be a funeral mass at 2 p.m. for Kathy Wilkes. Thursday, there will be a funeral mass at 1 p.m. for Barbara Kraft. As a result of the Thursday funeral mass, adoration will begin after the 7 p.m. mass on Thursday and go all night into Friday morning. Now, that Thursday 7 p.m. mass will be a Tridentine mass for the feast of Corpus Christi. Mass will end with a simple procession leading into our all-night adoration. Saturday the 13th and the 20th, so those 2 Saturdays, we will be having First Communion Masses at 11 a.m. On those 2 Saturdays, there will be no 8 a.m. Mass or morning confessions, so please make note of that. Good news, the Parish Office will be open beginning this Monday, June the 8th. It will be by appointment only, at least for this first week, so we ask that you please call ahead. Please make sure that you wear a mask or face covering when you come to the office. If you don't have a mask or face covering, please mention that when you call. Appointments will be available Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., with the office closed on Fridays. Father's Day is coming up, June 21, and as always, we will have a novena of masses beginning on Father's Day. If you would like to include your dad or grandfather to the intentions for the Father's Day novena, you can pick up a card in the main vestibule. Suggested donation is $10. Thanks to everyone who has been donating to the ongoing Stone Soup Sunday food drive over the past few weeks. I am told that the Food Depot has an abundance of some foods right now, and they're not getting the usual traffic. So we're going to take a little bit of a break from collecting for Stone Soup Sunday. We'll resume that at a later date, probably later on this month. Now, unfortunately, because of the shutdown, we weren't able to have our annual Graduates Mass this year. But we do still want to honor and congratulate our graduates among us. If you go to our parish website, you'll find a link to a form. If you are graduating from high school or college this year, we want to know about it so that we can let everyone know. So please fill out the form with your name, where you're graduating from, and what your plans are now that you're done. And congratulations and God bless to all of you, class of 2020. As I mentioned earlier, this coming Thursday, June 11, is the traditional day for the Feast of Corpus Christi. Corpus Christi, much like the Last Supper, is celebrated on Thursday. Hopefully you see the Eucharist as the link there. And Corpus Christi was always held as a holy day of obligation. In the new Mass, Corpus Christi is often transferred to Sunday. Not all dioceses do this, but most in the U.S., including here in Detroit. But in the extraordinary form, it is not moved. It still remains on Thursday, and it is this coming Thursday. So this year, the 7 p.m. Mass will be the Tridentine Mass for Corpus Christi, and as I said, the Mass will conclude with a simple Eucharistic procession inside the church. Adoration will begin after the 7 p.m. Mass and will continue until Friday morning. Lastly, just as a reminder, because I still get some questions about it, we aren't doing the collection baskets at Mass anymore, at least for the foreseeable future. We've instead installed collection boxes, as you can see in the video here, at each of the entrances, where you can drop off your offertory as you come into church. So please make sure that you see those on the way in. Okay, so this segment is called What Did I Learn in Canon Law This Week? And that's accompanied by some fancy graphics for some reason, just because. I'm spending 20 hours a week in class on Zoom. plus some time outside of class reading. Hopefully, I learned something, and I thought maybe some of you might be interested or curious about what I'm studying. I also figured that a good way to learn is to try to repeat and articulate what I'm learning. Maybe that'll help it to stick. I'll do this sometimes. Now, if I don't do one of these one week, that doesn't mean that I didn't learn anything. I probably just didn't get to it. So, okay, so what did I learn this week? Well, one of the things that we learned about is the process by which something becomes law in the church. Now, I don't know how many of you remember Schoolhouse Rock, those Saturday morning cartoons. There was one called How a Bill Becomes a Law. You can look that up on YouTube. Yeah, it's not really like that, at least it shouldn't be. The church has its own way that something becomes a law, and it is sometimes referred to as part of the church's legislative procedure. And there are a few basic steps to it. First, there has to be a need for the law. The church shouldn't come up with laws just for the sake of coming up with laws. There has to be some good reason for it. Does a particular law have to be reformed? Is there a gap or a lacuna in the law? Lacuna is the Latin word meaning gap. Is there something that the current law doesn't address? The last edition of Canon Law was published in 1983. A lot has changed in the last 37 years. So is there something that the law currently doesn't address? Who are the people affected by the potential law? How widespread is the need? So there has to be some identified and recognized need. Once a need has been determined, then some commission has to draft a law, a schema or an initial text, which is then evaluated and tweaked and voted on norm by norm. There has to be some external consultation, so the commission can't take it upon themselves to formulate the law. Consultation with those who are being affected has to take place. There may need to be consultation with the College of Cardinals, with the Conference of Bishops, the Roman Curia, etc. Then there needs to be some revision, which could lead to more evaluating, tweaking, and consultation. And all of these steps up to this point can take a long time. And then finally, it has to be submitted to the legislator, whoever that is. If it pertains to the universal church, then the Pope is more than likely the legislator. If the law is more particular, the legislator might be the diocesan bishop, the conference of bishops of a particular country, who as a body would vote, and so forth. So whoever the legislator is will take the final schema or the final draft of the law, and he can accept it as it is, or he can take a red pen and just change any of it at will, though he would probably only do something like that for a serious reason. But it speaks of the legislative power of whoever the proper legislator is. And then once the law is approved, it is promulgated. That is to say, it is to publicly make the new law known. And there are different means and ways that happens depending on what kind of law it is. If it's a universal law, the Pope could promulgate it in an apostolic letter, for example. If it is a particular law, like for a diocese, then it could be in a diocesan newspaper with information on when the law takes effect. So, kind of interesting stuff. This is from our general norms class, which is basically a study of the church's legal system. So some very foundational stuff. And that's one thing that I learned this week. So hopefully you found that somewhat interesting. There'll be more of that in the future, but that's all for now. As you can see, there's a lot of things that are going on here in the church, and I hope as the days go on, more and more of you feel comfortable again to be here. I look forward to seeing you this weekend. May God bless you this week.